guys, welcome back to the channel. This is me, Dr. Shweta. Today we are diving deep into one of the most iconic novels of all times, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I'm sure some of you must have read it in school, or maybe it is a novel which is just lying around there on your bookshelf. So pick it up today and start reading right away. But if you have never read it, don't worry, I've got you covered. We are going to talk about the key themes, the entire plot, the major characters, and why this book is still relevant today for the students of English literature especially. Trust me, this is not just another boring English class. So let's get started. First, let's talk about the plot. This story begins in 1775 in two major cities, London, which is in England, and Paris, which is in France. The world is changing rapidly and both countries are dealing with big issues. In France, the lower classes are suffering under the rule of the aristocracy, while in England, there is some tension too, but this situation isn't as explosive yet there as it is in France. Let us now talk about the main characters so we can understand the plot better. There are a few key characters we'll focus on to understand the entire plot. The first and the foremost important character is of Dr. Manette. Dr. Manette is shown as a brilliant doctor who was unjustly imprisoned in the Bastille for 18 long years. Then we have Lucy Manette, Dr. Manette's daughter, who is kind-hearted and devoted to her father. Next up, we have Charles Darnay, a French aristocrat who renounces his family's wealth and title to live in England. So in spite of being an aristocrat himself, Charles Darnay is a very gentle character. Then we have Sidney Carton, a brilliant but disillusioned English lawyer. He is talented but feels wasted in life. There is a common thing between Charles Darnay and Sidney Carton, and that is they both look alike. Then we have Madame Defarge. She is a ruthless and vengeful woman who represents the revolutionary spirit of the time. She gathers the momentum of the revolution and is hell-bent on killing all the aristocrats. Now let us talk about the past that haunts Dr. Manette. Dr. Manette was once imprisoned in the Bastille, a French prison, for no good reason. He had been locked away for 18 long years. And when he is finally freed, he was mentally shattered, broken, making him forget much of his past. Lucy, his daughter, brings him to London, where she lovingly helps him recover and they form a very close bond with each other. Now let us see what was the connection between Darnay and Sidney Carton. Lucy eventually marries Charles Darnay, who surprisingly is part of a very fine aristocratic family that caused Dr. Manette's imprisonment, ironically. But Darnay is a good man who wants nothing to do with his family's cruelty, and he has renounced his aristocracy, he has renounced his title to live a simple life in London away from France. Meanwhile, Sidney Carton, who is a lawyer and he works with Darnay, he secretly loves Lucy. Though he feels unworthy of her love, Carton is willing to do anything for Lucy Manette and for her happiness. Now begins the revolution, the French Revolution, against whose backdrop the entire novel is created. The story moves to Paris, where the people are fed up with the brutal treatment from the French royalty, French nobility. The revolution is rising and the common people, led by figures like Madame Defarge and Monsieur Defarge, they start demanding justice. The aristocrats are seen as evil oppressors, and soon the streets of Paris are filled with violence and bloodshed because the common people are hell-bent on killing all the aristocrats. Now comes the arrest of Darnay and his trial. Charles Darnay, despite renouncing his title, renouncing his aristocracy, his family, finds himself in trouble when he returns to France, because here every common man is after the aristocrat, so he is arrested as an enemy of the common people because of his family name and his title. He is put on trial and he faces death penalty. Dr. Manette tries his best and uses his best influences to save Darnay, but it doesn't work at all. Now comes Sidney Carton's ultimate sacrifice and his role in the entire novel. I told you before that Sidney Carton and Charles Darnley resemble each other. So there is a reason why Dickens has created these two characters as look-alike. So here is a twist. Even though Carton knows he can never be with Lucy, he decides to do something incredibly brave. Carton, who has always lived a wasted life, decides to take Darnley's place at the guillotine because he looks like Darnley. He believes that his sacrifice will give Lucy a chance to be happy with her husband, and in his final moments, he feels peace knowing that he has made a real difference to the entire situation and to his life, which was earlier wasted. He has been useful to somebody he actually truly loved. Now the final moments. In the final scene, Carton faces his death at the guillotine with calm and with courage. Before he dies, he thinks about Lucy and her family and imagines them living happily. His last words are very famous and which I shall quote here. "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I got to than I have ever known." So that was about the entire story of the novel. Now let's critically analyze the book considering its various characters and its major themes. The book starts with a famous line. "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." Sounds dramatic, right? But that's exactly what Dickens wanted. It's the clash of extremes, this tug of war between good and evil, peace and chaos that drives the entire story. Okay, let's get into the characters now because trust me, they are the ones who make this novel unforgettable. First up, we have Charles Darnley. This guy is basically the good guy, a French aristocrat who gives up his title to live in England and start fresh. But obviously the past has a way of catching up with people. So yeah, he gets caught up in all the revolution drama. Then there is Dr. Manette, Darnley's father-in-law. He is a former prisoner of the Bastille who has been locked away for 18 years, and when he is freed, he is literally a shell of a man. The way Dickens writes his character, you really feel for him. His mental and emotional state is so fragile after he gets released from the jail after 18 years. Now let's talk about Lucy Manette, Dr. Manette's daughter and the true heroine of this story. She's sweet, she's kind, and basically the glue that holds everything together in the entire novel. Lucy represents the pure, the idealistic hope in the world full of corruption and politics. And then we have Sidney Carton. And guys, Sidney Carton is the character to talk about. He starts off as a drunk, disillusioned lawyer, but throughout the novel, he undergoes this incredible transformation. You're gonna have to wait till the end of the book to really understand his character. But trust me, it's one of the most tragic and beautiful redemptions in the literary history, you can say that. Now let's take a look at some of the major themes of the novel, and I'll be honest with you, these themes are still super relevant to us even today. The first theme is of social justice. The whole reason the French Revolution happens is because the people are fed up with aristocracy, the rich living it up while the poor are suffering. A Tale of Two Cities is a reminder that when the divide between classes gets too big, people start to revolt. So yeah, Dickens was pretty woke for his time. Another big theme is sacrifice. Sidney Carton's journey, like I said before, is all about this. He is in the novel to sacrifice himself for Charles Darnley. His ultimate sacrifice for the love of Lucy and her family is what makes him one of the most selfless characters in literature because he laid down his own life to give happiness to Lucy Manette at the end. And then there is resurrection, not just literally. I mean, Dr. Manette's coming back to life after 18 years in prison is kind of resurrection, but this resurrection is also symbolic in nature. The idea that people can rise above their past, be redeemed, and make a fresh start even after going through something terrible is the entire idea of the novel, and it is quite well expressed by the theme of resurrection by Dickens in his novel. Now let's talk about the French Revolution. It is not just a backdrop to the story on which the entire novel has been written. It is a character in itself. The revolution's brutality, the mass executions, the rise of the mob mentality, all of that is depicted through the lives of these characters. It is a time of great change, but also of great destruction. Dickens really makes you feel the intensity of the revolution. It is a reminder that even though we want change, we have to be very careful about how we go about in achieving that change through violence or through peace. And finally, why should students of English literature care about this book? Well, for starters, it's a classic. And classics matter because they give us insight into human nature and the society of the time when they were written. Plus, Dickens is a master at using symbolism, irony, and contrast. A Tale of Two Cities offers so much to analyze. Whether you are studying literary techniques, you are studying historical context, or philosophical questions about revolution and justice, Tale of Two Cities is the go-to text for you. Also, let's be real. Sydney Carton's redemption arc is like one of those stories that just hits you in the feels, right? If you're looking for complex characters, deeper themes, and a story that's about much more than just history, then this is the book you need to read. So there you have it. A Tale of Two Cities is much more than just a historical novel. It's about human nature, the need for social justice, the pain of sacrifice, and the hope for redemption that good things can happen at the end. And of course, it's written in that beautiful, rich Dickensian style that makes you stop and think with every page. If you have read this before, what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't, well, maybe it's the time to give this book a try. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more literary content, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Keep watching till then, and thanks for watching this video.